we get into our roundtable discussion. And today we're having a very heartwarming and insightful conversation around a topic that matters to every single one of us. We're talking about wellness. But we're not just talking health tips and doctor visits. We are exploring knowing yourself, knowing your body, your emotions, your habits, and how all of that comes together to keep you well. And to help us unpack this, we are joined by two special guests, a mother and a daughter, who are going to give us two beautiful perspectives on wellness from different generations, of course. All right, so please, we have in studio now Alexandra Opoku-Mann, who is an analytical chemist and certified natural health practitioner, and also Mackenzie Sayan Efuwa-Mann, who is a philosophy student at Durham University. Mommy and daughter, you're welcome.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you for having us.
Right.
We are very, very excited today. Yes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to speak to you too. But let's start from Easter. We're celebrating Easter, and I want to know how you plan on, celebrating this particular Easter.
Right. So usually we would be in the UK, and right now we'll be getting ready to go to an Easter play that we do every year at our church, and it brings so many people to Christ because it's so real. They show Jesus being crucified, and the fact that he did that for us, it touches so many unsaved people, and you just see them flock into the altar. And then on Sunday we have an Easter service. Sometimes it's followed again by the same play because one day is not enough. And so Easter time for us is very much a family time. We're spending lots of time in church. We're reflecting. I loved what your previous guest said, was, it's a time of reflection, because sometimes you can go through life and you can almost forget what it really means to be a Christian, because Jesus died for our sins. And I was laughing at some of the things you were saying, because honestly, if I wasn't a Christian, I don't know where I would be today. I really don't, because even though I did grow up in a Christian household, getting to my teens, I definitely drifted far away from Christianity. And also I didn't know God for myself. And so not having that relationship with him, just singing hymns is not enough. You've got to have that personal relationship. And so the moment that I did have that relationship, it totally changed my mind. So I think I've diverted slightly to your question, but that's what you said.
It's okay. Yeah. Mackenzie, you want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. So usually, as my mum said, we would be at church on Friday, listening to the Easter service. I'm still planning to log in when they start the service. I think it's just such a real time, because you get to really focus on what Jesus has done for us. I think it's something that we should be reflecting on every day. And the scripture that always comes to mind is, he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace is upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. So it's such an important time.
Awesome. But what does this really mean to you? What does Easter really mean to you?
I think your guest touched on it again. It's the love, that unconditional love, that agape love, where there is absolutely nothing that any one of us can do that God can turn his back on us. He's always given us that choice to come to him. And I don't know anyone who numbers the hairs on your head, who, it's like his love is just, I can't even explain it. But when you have that love, it's so peaceful. It's, and that's what Easter means to me, is that peace that you get, where you can be in certain situations and still have that peace, where chaos is going on around you and still you have that peace. For me, that is a big thing, especially for someone who, when I wasn't a Christian, I used to suffer a lot with anxiety, because I'd go into a crowded room, and I'll be thinking so many things. I feel like the enemy will be throwing things at my, like, why are you here? You don't deserve to be here. You look ugly. You know, all sorts of things. And then the moment I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, changed around. There was this peace that came upon me, and a calmness as well.
So anybody listening to us should know that when they come to Jesus, their worries, their anxieties are going to leave them, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, you're gonna. I think your worries and anxieties will leave you, but there will be opportunities for them to come back. So that's why you use the sword of the Spirit, the word
of God.
and you always counteract. Because obviously I'm not saying that fear never comes my way anymore. Of course it does, it tries to. But now I'm armed and I have the Bible to just counteract that. And that is the thing that makes a difference with the old me and who I am today.
Wow. Mackenzie, yeah, tell us, what does it mean to you?
For me, it means sacrifice, because Jesus actually went out of his way to sacrifice for us. And I think it just shows how God goes above and beyond for us. And I think sometimes there's this misconception that God is like angry with us, or like he just is judging us. But really, like, this is a time where it shows Jesus loved us so much that he went out of his way to save us. And it means like reconciliation, because it's where we're able to build that relationship with God, where Jesus like built that bridge that we're able to come to God directly as well. And he paid the price.
He paid the price, absolutely.
Yeah.
So any word to anybody at all listening before we get into the wellness conversation?
I think this is even linked to the wellness. So if you're in any situation where you just feel it's hopeless, I think you should realize that if you just give it to God, you'd be amazed how things can turn around. There's a season for everything. And so you may be just at that point where you're getting your breakthrough. And if you were to give up, that would be, it would be such a disappointment. I think also it's really important that people will, there's always hope. There's always hope in God.
Right.
So never ever give up and know that he can do the impossible.
Know that he can do the impossible. Mackenzie, you have anything to say?
I think pretty much what my mum said, that there is hope in God. And I think always just give him a chance as well, just to move in your life as well. So I'd say just always, invite God into everything, into every day, because he's there and he wants to have that relationship.
And Easter is a good time to get back to God. I was making that point earlier. So make the most out of the season, get to hear and feel the sacrifice that Jesus Christ did for us. And that's something that will help us. Now let's get into our conversation really. So we're talking wellness. And let's start with the basics. What does wellness mean to you? Not just physically, but in your day-to-day life as a mother, as a woman, and someone who probably wears many hats. What does wellness mean to you?
I think wellness is definitely having a sound mind. So sometimes we think about the physical side of things, you may have a disease, but actually it starts with the mind a lot of the time. You find that if people are stressed, that's going to have a big effect. And there's so many studies now even showing things like unforgiveness is a major, major barrier to getting well. And so the moment someone forgives, they start getting a lot better. And so for me, wellness goes beyond what is going on in your body. It's talking about your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, everything in one. And so as a mother, it's busy being a mother, being a wife, doing work. But what I try to do more or less every single day is in the morning, I wake up very early and I'll just go for a run. And it's just me and God, because that just starts my day. I've noticed that when I don't do it, sometimes things can not be as smooth sailing. But it's like God prepares you for what is coming that day. And so for me, that is the ultimate wellness. Once again, coming to peace, having that peaceful place where you can make the right decisions as well.
Right. Yeah. And that is wellness for you. Well, let me come to you, Mackenzie. Mackenzie, you are growing, you're learning about yourself every day. What do you know about your body? And do you think you understand it very well?
I would say that every day I'm progressively acquiring more knowledge about my body. And it's not something where I would say I've arrived yet, because I'm constantly learning. But there's quite a few things I've learned so far. So I think, as my mum was indicating, that the body is such a holistic approach. We need to make sure that our bodies are kept healthy, because it affects our minds, it affects so many different things. And actually, one scripture that I'd like to draw upon is a verse that says that our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. So we're meant to take care of it. And so I'm so privileged to have my mum, who's got such a wealth of knowledge, because she's able to tell me, okay, if you're feeling this way, maybe try and have this into your diet or include these nutrients. So my mum, I think she'll talk about this later, but she does this thing called an intolerance test. And it turns out that when I did this test, it turns out there's quite a lot of things that my body cannot tolerate in my diet. So I think having that knowledge and being able to realize, okay, I don't do well with breads or even apples I don't tolerate, it helped me to make that switch and be like, okay, how can I make sure that my body thrives in the best environment? Yeah.
But you've done a good job, Mommy.
Oh,
You've done a good
thank
job.
God.
Right. So how can somebody who is listening to us now also get to that point like Mackenzie?
I think there's so many different things. So on a sort of a really basic way is make sure that you're listening to good things, the things that are edifying. Because if you're around people that are going to edify you, because you see, if you are constantly having people that are speaking negativity over you, the Bible says, the power of words, and so it's really important. But then on a sort of a practical approach, when you wake up in the morning, go outside, first light, allow it to shine into your eyes. That has, the very first light has infrared, and that infrared will then help us to make something called melatonin, which is a sleep hormone.
Okay.
And so by the time we get to 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we should start feeling a bit sleepy. That's what most of us should be doing, but a lot of us override this. And it helps you to heal your body. Okay. If I always say to my patients, if you can just get sleep before 10 p.m., you will notice the way your body will heal. But a lot of us were doing things, I know we've got busy lives. We get home and, 11, 12, 1 a.m. we're on our, devices, etc. Yeah. So definitely that's a big one to do. And it's free, it's not something you even have to think about. And also another thing that works really well is grounding. So grounding is where your body is in touch with nature. So it could be your feet on sand, soil, piece of wood, a tree. But when you're actually in contact with God's naturalness, you find that you start healing as well. Right. So from a science point of way, when you're looking at this, I could take your blood, take some blood from you, look at your blood under a microscope, and I will tell whether you're somebody who is grounding or not just by your red blood cells.
Really?
Yeah, because your red blood cells will be, if you're not grounding, your red blood cells will be quite stuck together. So not clotting, but they'll be stuck together. The moment you go out, stand on grass or sand for 20 minutes, come back, I take your blood again, your red blood cells will be moving like it's in olive oil or something, yeah? And the reason being is because you have discharged. And so we need to be constantly discharging. In fact, we need to get back to how our grandparents and great-grandparents were doing things, because they were walking barefoot quite a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And, I know I just recently came from my parents' village, and I love the way they get up early, so they're getting the light shining into their eyes. They're barefoot. They're going into the farm, so they're being grounded. And you see they're very strong, So definitely these are some of the things that you can start off by doing. And as I say, totally free. You got it there. God's given it to you. Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that. But I know you're an advocate for natural health practices.
Yes.
Can you break down that for us before we get into that really? Who is a natural health practitioner? How does that differ from medical doctor? Okay,
so I'll tell you a little bit about my background so that you can understand how I've got to where I am.
Right.
So I am an analytical chemist. I make drugs, study. When studies come out, I'll be the one that would be looking at the studies to check to see that whether they're in line and ready and for the drugs that are safe to go out. So I've always been in pharmaceuticals, making medicines for the past 25 years. And then also educating doctors, nurses, pharmacists on how to use medication. Okay. But about sort of 10 years ago, or 10, 11 years ago, I noticed that there was this pattern where someone will be put onto a medication, they'll get the side effect of that medication, then they'll be given a new diagnosis, and then they're put on another drug, and then it goes on and on. So by the time they get to 40, 50, 60, they're on so many different medications that are all causing side effects. And literally they're slowly, deteriorating.
Yeah.
And this was not the reason why I went into science. I wanted to see people get better. And so I started looking more, researching more into natural health, even just speaking to my parents who I had no idea they were so knowledgeable on natural health. And because they lived it. That's when the children in Ghana, they'll just live that life where you would just be given things naturally. And so I realized that actually a lot of these things can heal us and they don't cause the side effects. And so when you're saying what's the difference between a medical doctor and myself, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a chemist, but I'm a natural practitioner who will can prescribe natural remedies. I make natural remedies as well, and also I get to the root cause. And by root cause, I'm talking about, for instance, if you were to say to me, "Oh, I've got really bad skin problems," I guess conventional medicine would just say, "Okay, let's get you a cream and see whether we can get rid of this cream." But I'm looking at, okay, what exactly is causing you to get this skin irritation? Usually it's the gut. Usually there's a problem going on in your gut where the gut bacteria that we should have depleted. So we need to replenish the gut, make it healthy again, because over 80% of diseases start in the gut. So that's why there's a little bit of a difference in conventional medicine compared to natural health medicine.
Right. And so a medical doctor will give you the prescriptions, the drugs that we have, the medications that we have, but you will give natural remedies to certain things.
That's right. That's right. So natural remedies, maybe you can get it in your food or supplements, and it depends how depleted you are of these things. Yeah.
Right. Because she talked about diet, that sometimes you tell her what to eat and then it makes a difference. So apart from diet and supplements, are there other things that you prescribe to people? Yes.
So I've noticed that a lot of us, well, all of us actually have parasites in us. They live usually very well with the virus and the, everything, bacteria in our body.
That's scary.
I know it's scary, but we all have it. And in the past, I don't know if it still happens now in Ghana, but I know that when I speak to older people, they tell me that, when they used to come back from secondary school, they would have, they'll be dewormed. Or they'll be using Bentoa or things like that. And now it's...
do you know Bentoa?
I've heard of it.
But she's never tried it. She's heard of it. She's heard of it. And so, I think a lot of these things were helping us, really helping us in Ghana. But what's happened is we've kind of gone towards the more Western approach of things. True. And so the parasites are building up in us. And usually you can get parasites from fish, from certain meats. Pork is a big culprit, but other meats as well. And this really causes a lot of problems within your body. So something I do for majority of my patients is I do a parasite cleanse that will get rid of the parasites, and they usually feel amazing as well. Yeah. In fact, my sister a few days ago, she sent me a picture of herself, and she's really beautiful, but she looked awful. When she sent me this picture, her face was all bloated, and I was like, what happened? And she said, I don't know, I've just, I'm just itching everywhere. And then she said, oh, and my friend as well, he's got the same thing, but they don't live in the same house, so they're in the same area. So I was thinking, is there something going on in their area? And then it hit me. It was a full moon. So in a full moon, parasites, they react very, very energetically, because human beings, we make more serotonin. That is like our mood hormone. They make a lot of it. So that if you've got parasite infestation, they will start moving around very quickly, and it causes all these allergy symptoms. That's when a lot of my little children patients that I have, their parents will call me, they've just had a breakout. And I said, right, it's a full moon. When I first heard this, I thought this was strange, but then I like to always look at the science behind it as well. And so she then took a parasite cleanse, And I saw her yesterday, and she looks back to normal. Looks amazing. Yeah, yeah. So I've asked her actually for her to do a before and after for me, because it was so dramatic. You know, she just went back to normal. So parasites, they play such a big role, and I don't think they're recognized enough within our, day-to-day life. And if we could get back to doing parasite cleanses or doing things that cleanse us, honestly, a lot of these diseases won't even happen.
I see. You're going to tell us how to do the cleansing. But just before that, you talked about fish, you talked about meat, and doesn't mean we shouldn't be eating those things?
No, it doesn't mean that. So I always tell people, if you can, 80% of your time, make sure you're eating healthy foods. So the fish, unfortunately, when they're farmed, is not the natural way, and so they will start collecting parasites. In general, fish do have parasites, but there's so many different aspects as well, because usually they will give the fish hormones, which has an effect on us as well, on our bodies. Whereas if you catch it in the sea, that's the better way, is responsibly sourced.
Right.
So far as it's in a clean area, that will be the better fish to take.
Okay.
So definitely don't stop eating fish. Fish is so good for you. Pork as well. Yeah, pork depends on how it's produced, really.
Right.
Yeah. And if you like sushi, that is a big one. Parasites are living in there. Salmon is another one. Yeah.
So which one should we eat?
Ideally, responsibly sourced fish, which comes from the sea, the sea fish. Yeah, not so much the farmed ones. Unless, obviously, it's being farmed in a way that they're not injecting them with hormones to make them bigger straight away, because that is quite an unnatural process, and that has an effect on our bodies and causes diseases. Yeah.
I see. Well, I said you were going to tell us how to do the cleansing. So tell us.
The cleansing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it just comes in, it's a liquid. It's got certain herbs called wormwood, cloves, and these all help to kill the parasite from egg, larvae, and the adult. So some of the parasite cleanses that you'll see, it will just kill the adults. But if they've already laid the eggs in you,
Then
it's
it
going
will
to all
still
start
come back.
again.
Right.
And so I get my patients to take it for 2 weeks and then take 1 week off, and then 2 weeks, then 1 week off for 14 weeks, because it takes 12 weeks for a parasite to go through the full cycle. So we want to make sure everything is knocked out. Yeah.
Well, I'm still on you.
Yeah.
I'll come to you, Mackenzie, don't worry. So I know there's going to be a difficult one, but when it comes to your family, how do you balance natural remedies and visiting the hospital?
Do you know, we've been really blessed. We've never had to go to a hospital. I was just saying to my daughter, the only time I've been in the hospital is to have my children. That was it.
Really?
I've never, and it's
For how
and it's
many-
not
how many
because
years?
sorry.
For how many years now?
So, just thinking, last time I went to the hospital,
No, I mean, how long haven't you been to the hospital?
haven't I been to the
Yeah.
hospital? I'd say over 22 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, I've gone to have my children.
Yeah,
So my
that's-
youngest is 11, so I'll go just have children. Or even with him, I had him at home, but that's
But
another
never
story.
because you
Yeah.
are sick, you're ill,
No,
or anything.
no, I've never had to, and none of my my
Your
husband
children?
or my children have ever had to. No, because what usually happens. Mackenzie mentioned, I do something called an intolerance test. So that means that I take a few strands of your hair, because the hair has so much information, and then it's analyzed, and then the results come back, and it tells me what you're deficient in, what maybe some of the foods that you're taking that are damaging you. So sometimes it's not the obvious foods. So for instance, I had a little girl who was getting severe tummy troubles. She, couldn't go to sleep. Her parents couldn't, were always tired. She goes to school, she can't learn. She's just always in pain. She did lots of allergy tests, went to all the doctors. We did an intolerance test. It turned out she was eating strawberries. Strawberries just didn't agree with her. And yet strawberries is healthy because it's a really good fruit full of antioxidants. We need that. So, so this test also tells me if you've got something called heavy metals in you. So I'll take you back to your chemistry days on the periodic table, that middle section. They're the metals like mercury, cadmium, arsenic. A lot of us have that in our bodies. And so when we have it, it can cause things like sciatic pain, brain, like Parkinson's, like shaking, brain type disorders, and it can cause digestive issues as well. And so I try it with my family. It's not always easy, but try and take them off the foods that they can't tolerate for 8 weeks, and then reintroduce it after the 8 weeks gently, and then see what is happening. And we're always cleansing. They don't even know it sometimes. I'm putting things in their drinks. Otherwise I've got 2 younger boys and they'll be like, oh, this tastes disgusting. But you know, so we have to be cleansing. And I just recommend it for everyone. We do need to be doing some kind of cleanse, even if it means you just wake up in the morning, put some lemon in your hot water, drink it. That's a nice way to cleanse. You know, it's a really good way to cleanse. Yeah.
I see. Mackenzie, tell us, I know Mommy has said a lot of things about the routines and the natural remedies. You have had experience. Tell us what it is like having to try some of these natural remedies and the routines with Mommy.
Yeah, so I think one of the ones my mum just mentioned was the parasite cleanse. So I tried this, it was during when I just started university, and I just was not feeling the best. Like, I had quite a lot of digestive issues. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. So I told my mum about it, and she said, okay, try and do this parasite cleanse. So it was the first time I'd taken it seriously, because my mum had given it to me a few times, and I took it maybe a couple of days, and then afterwards I stopped. I was like, I can't do it.
We've all been victims.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, corporate of that.
Yeah. So this time I was like, I'll take it seriously and see what it does for my body. So I took it every day, and I definitely noticed a difference. Like, bit by bit, everything was getting better. My digestion was getting better. I wasn't having pains. But I also noticed that I was having some strange things was happening, and my mum told me like the science behind it. So there was one day where I realized that I think it was my eye was twitching or my nose was twitching. And I was like, Mum, what is this? And she said, it's the parasites, they're coming out of you. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Wow. So how do they come out?
When you have a bowel movement, that's how they come out. Yeah. So what happens is, and everyone's experience is different with a parasite cleanse.
Okay.
Some people will not notice anything, but they're still dying and in their body. Others, as Mackenzie said, she had like a twitching around her nose. And so we tend to have a lot of parasites living around our nose. That's why some people are very congested, and they can be taking decongestants or be taking various medications, but it's not working because the parasite is staying there and is feeding on what they're spraying up on their nose. And so the moment they start dying, they're fighting. They don't want to die, so they're fighting, and they can give off toxins because they hold on to a lot of toxins, and these toxins can cause headaches. They can also cause like sort of loose bowel movements. And some people feel nauseous. Another thing that people have been telling me a lot now is they have this strong body odor, because we're holding in all this toxins. So the moment they start dying, then they start releasing it. And so I always say, please use a deodorant more during this time, because you may start smelling. Yeah. So these are some of the symptoms that you can get.
Very interesting. We're going to turn to body very soon, but tell us, what are some of the major steps to take to keep it or maintain some wellness? So I started with the sort of the normal things that you can do, but also I think there's so many different things that you can do. So I mean, in the UK we don't get the sun like you guys get here. You're so blessed, and so we have to. And we still complain.
And also I've done quite a lot of intolerance tests on Ghanaians, and they're deficient in vitamin D, which is our sun vitamin.
Really?
Yeah, because what's happening is a lot of the time they'll be in the AC. They're not going outside, because during the best time to get light usually is between sort of 10 and 3 p.m.
Okay.
Where you can get the ultimate amount of vitamin D. But a lot of the time you'll be in the office, you'll be at home, or some people just don't want to come out because it's too bright or too hot or whatever. And so that can be a problem. And being low in vitamin D it can cause pains in your body all over. It can also lower your mood. And so I find that a lot of people that have low moods are usually low in vitamin D and magnesium, but vitamin D plays a big role. And so if you're not in a place where you can do an intolerance test, I do highly recommend it. But if you're not in a place, I think just look at your symptoms, and the main things is vitamin D, magnesium, they are so important for us. I've never met anyone who's got too much magnesium in their body. Most people are deficient because magnesium is responsible for over 600 different enzyme reactions in our body. So that means it's having an effect on the heart, the liver, the kidneys, your skin, your bones, your joints, your blood. You know, it's everything for us. And so many people are very low in it, and that's why a lot of diseases can start as well.
Could that be the reason why a lot of the young people are passing today? I mean, could that be one of the reasons why lots of young people are dying at a very young age?
Possibly. I think there's other aspects as well. As I say, lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, because your body needs rest, and you find a lot of people, and when I was really young, I was constantly on the go, but it catches up with you as well. And so you do need to make sure you're getting rest. You can't just be going on and on. Your body may feel like it is, but one day it's going to give up, because that's something God tells us we should rest, you know, because, you know, it's refreshing for us. And so when I'm doing consultations with my patients, one thing I always ask is, what is your energy level from 0 to 10 when you wake up, where 0 is no energy and 10 is full of energy? Because that then gives me a gauge as to where they are within their life. And sometimes they think they've got really good energy until they incorporate things into their routine, and then realize, oh, I didn't even have much energy, and now I have energy. Wow. So another thing I love to do is green juicing. Okay. So that involves things like cucumber, celery, ginger, lemon, and you can put a little bit of apple in it, but I like it quite bitter. For reasons being that when it's bitter, it then reacts, it gets your enzymes going, and then it's able to increase the stomach acid, which helps to digest the food, but also it kills the parasites as well. But also, because of the green pigment chlorophyll in the juice, that chlorophyll acts like hemoglobin, and hemoglobin takes oxygen to all the different parts of your organs, to your skin, to your cells, and then gives you the energy. So it's not unheard of where people very, very low energy, within 3-5 days, they suddenly ring me and say, oh my goodness, I feel amazing. Wow. All it is, it's not like I've done anything. We've just used natural things. Yeah, definitely.
I see, very interesting. Now you talk about rest.
Yes.
Personally, people ask me, do you get to rest? And I'm like, oh, not really. How can I begin to rest a bit more? Is it just about sleep? What are some of the things I have to do?
I think it's switching off. You need to switch off, because, and I know it's not easy. I also struggle. I'm being real. I struggle a bit sometimes. But what I really do find helps is if you can just say, right, 3 days in a week, I am going to go to bed at 9:30 p.m. And just, if you want to play your worship, if you want to just lie down, but make sure you're in bed by 9:30, so that by 10 you're totally asleep. That will really help your body to rest, because between 10 and midnight, that's when your body is doing the most amount of healing. So when we're overriding it, then we become very ill, and we can wake up quite anxious. So some people can actually wake up very anxious and they don't understand it. The reason being is that we're meant to go to bed when the sun goes down, and we wake up when the sun comes up, which is what a lot of people in the village do. I've noticed, I was really enjoying studying what they were doing. And so when you're interrupting this, you mess up something called your circadian rhythm, so the natural way that our body should to work. Right. And so then your stress hormone, which is meant to be high during the day because we need it, instead of it coming down at nighttime, it stays up. So by the time you wake up, you're like, I need my coffee, I need something, I need a cigarette, I need something to just wake me up. And that is not a good way to live, because then that can cause hypertension, so your blood pressure can go up. It can cause high cholesterol, it can cause diabetes. And how many people do we know that have probably all three of those problems? And a lot of the time it's because they're not sleeping. Yeah.
I see. Now you talk about coffee.
Yeah.
Is it a good thing? But just before that, you mentioned that you can sleep by 9:30 into the. What time is the right time to wake up when you sleep around that time?
See, that's the interest. Is a really interesting question because I'm more concerned with that, making sure you get that healing part. Right. But obviously, waking up, if you can wake up from, everybody's different. So some people need less sleep. But it's the quality of sleep that I'm really concerned about. You know, so when you're looking at sleep studies, as I say, it's looking at that 10 to midnight area. Ideally, though, I would like most people to try and, you know, if you're going to bed at 9:30, be awake by sort of 5, 6, 7, you know, depending on what you need.
Right.
Teenagers, I find, need a lot more sleep. Yeah, like babies, they tend to, because they're growing so much, hormones are changing, so they do need a lot more sleep. So when teenagers are just getting a few hours of sleep, it's really slowing them down. Yeah, and it helps them to grow taller. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's talk about coffee, then I come to you.
Okay. So coffee isn't bad for everyone. I also do something called a genetic test. And so with the genetic test, it tells me what you're predisposed to, what diseases you're predisposed to. So maybe it could be hypertension. It doesn't mean you're going to get that sickness if your body is put in the right conditions. Because the way God has made us, He's made us in a way that our body heals itself naturally and easily when it's put in the right conditions. So with coffee, I find that when I do the genetic test, the coffee, some people can't tolerate it at all. It's causing them to have hypertension. Whereas others, they can drink it day and night, they sleep well. So it all depends on your genetics. So to answer your question, yeah, it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I take coffee, I get some headaches and all of that.
Right. So it's probably not for you.
Good for
yeah.
You. Right. Okay.
And also, if you are going to drink it in the earlier part of the day, never sort of later. Yeah.
All right. I'm getting free consultation. Thank you. Well, I'm grateful. So 19 minutes after 9, this is a business breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitra Bihamon. And this morning we're talking about wellness, how you can make your life better by some natural practices, as well as how you can know your body and make it the most out of everything related to that. And now I have in studio Alexandra Opoku-Aman, who is an analytical chemist and certified natural health practitioner, and also the daughter, who is Mackenzie Sayan Efuaman, who is a philosophy student at the Durham University. Now let's turn our attention to, but if you want to join the conversation, please feel free. You can send us a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. You can ask your questions, you can make comments, and then we'll do well to read them for you. You can as well call me on 03039566641, 03039566641, or you can engage us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and we'll do well to read your comments as well. Now, let's turn our attention to body awareness. And I'm coming to you, Mackenzie. This is where I come to you. How do you know when something is changing or not right in your body? Can you give us an example of a time you noticed something like that and how you handled it?
Yeah, so most of the time I feel like you can just sense when something is off. Like maybe it's just feeling a bit more tired, or maybe it could even just be a change in mood where all of a sudden I just feel very low, or I don't feel like I have a lot of energy, or just pains in my bodies and things like that. And I think that's where my mum's knowledge really comes in, like very handy, and being able to go to her and ask her questions of, okay, why am I feeling this way? And just even just small little switches of like just changing what I'm eating. So for example, going back to the intolerance test, it turns out that I'm intolerant to bread. So sometimes if I've been having a lot of bread in my diet, my mood will become very low. I don't have much energy. So it's just maybe eradicating some of those things and then adding some more fruits, vegetables, and just different things into the diet, and just having maybe some some juices and things like that that will help to bring those levels back higher. And also exercise plays a big role as well, because when I'm still for a long time, I realize I also don't feel the best. I actually feel a bit nauseous, a bit sick, but then I like to go running, so I just go on a quick run, come back, and it actually boosts my energy. So,
wow,
yeah.
Great. Because I was coming to that. I was coming to ask you the role physical fitness plays in all of this, and she touched on that briefly. Maybe you may want to add a word or two.
Yes, a physical fitness, really. I think it's as I say, I like to get up in the mornings early and just go for a run, because it helps me. One, it helps me to be, it's just me and the Lord. And I'm not really a gym person because you're inside. I like to see God's nature all around me. Okay. And so running is brilliant. But if you're somebody who can't run, you can walk, just go on a walk. Do about 20 minutes of walking. If you can't walk, then just you can do things in a chair. I mean, just make sure you've got some kind of movement every day, because that really helps with, as Mackenzie said, with your mood, your energy, and just your overall well-being. It really plays a big part in it. Yeah.
All right. So what are some of the other routines apart from running in the morning? What other things should people do?
So I've mentioned
and walking. You mentioned walking.
Walking.
As well.
Oh, you mean other sort of weights? Doing weights. So that's something that you don't have to go and get weights, but just making sure you're able to carry things, some things that are a bit heavy, because that strengthens your body.
Oh.
And what we're finding as we get older, if we're not building up, we're losing muscle every single day. So if we're not doing things to try and build our muscles, you get to a certain age that it's very difficult to sort of hold your body up. And that's why you find some people can become a little bit, hunched over. And so that's really important. Also, lifting weights can helps with your mood, it helps with your bones, helps you to make new bone as well, especially for women, especially when they reach menopause. It's so important for them to maintain the muscle. But it comes again to nutrition as well. They should be having quite a lot of protein in their diet. So whenever you're eating anything, make sure there's some kind of protein in your diet as well, so that it helps to then build up your muscles.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I saw something on social media some time back, and I want to ask about it. So there's a gentleman who doesn't eat anything apart from eggs.
Okay.
So you can pack like 12 to 15 eggs and eat it at once. Wow. What is your advice? That, you said, wow. Okay, you said, wow. What would you say to that?
I like eggs, but not 15 a day. I think...
No, that's just his breakfast.
That's just his breakfast? Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
there are so many different diets out there, and I haven't researched all of them, admittedly. So I could only comment on the things that I've seen work well, within my practice. But I do feel that you should vary your diet, definitely.
Okay.
You do, because if you're having too much protein, that then can cause problems as well.
That's true.
It could maybe have a problem with your kidneys, for instance. And so it's something where, as I say, I'm learning things every single day about different things that are going on, but I haven't come across the eggs. 15 eggs for breakfast. It's different.
Right.
Even if I can quickly touch on that,
sure.
I used to be a vegetarian. I used to be vegetarian for like 5-6 years, and even though it had some positives, like I was able to just like have more fruits and vegetables in my diet. On the flip side, it actually caused some problems as well. So like I had low iron and things like that. There's some people, don't get me wrong, that I know have been on it and they're able to get these sources of iron, but for me it wasn't working, so I just incorporated a bit of meat and it was better.
It
yeah.
was better. So you advise that don't go straight, don't be a vegetarian.
Yeah, so I didn't want her to be a vegetarian, but she really didn't like eating meat,
okay.
So we were then looking at, and I'm not a big meat eater, but I do see it's really, I feel it's important in our diet. And so she as she said, she started showing signs of just being weak a lot, and I was like, no, there's something, you're deficient in something. And so then we identified that it was iron, and also I think B12 as well. So a lot of people that are vegetarians and or vegan, they will be low in B12 because you get that from an animal source. And so I think particularly because she was growing as well, I didn't feel this was the time for her to be a vegetarian. However, in saying that, I've seen the vegan diet work for some people, where if they've got diabetes and they just go on a vegan diet for a month, their blood sugar just regulates itself.
Right.
But it's not something that I would encourage to do for the whole of your life, because it does bring down your mood. So when people come in to see me and they say, I'm getting really low moods, I'm anxious, the first thing I ask is, are you a vegan? Because usually it just reduces your magnesium, which helps with moods and all sorts.
Now, just because we're talking about moods,
I
see that a lot of young people today get mood swings. So they are very hyper at one point, and the next moment they're very quiet, don't want to talk to anybody. How do we solve that? Is it something that's got to do with our food, really? Is it something that has got to do with physical fitness? What is it really?
I think it's so many different things. It's what they're consuming with their eyes, what they're watching, what they're listening
really?
to. Oh yeah, what they're listening to, and also the foods that the foods that they're eating, the junk food that has no nutritional content, but they're eating it, and then that is also having an effect on moods. Or the foods that they're eating, for instance, if it's chicken, and that chicken has been injected with hormones, has been eating things that have been sprayed with chemicals, and then they eat it, it has an effect on their gut. And the gut is a direct connection to the brain. And so the moment your gut is not doing so well, you do find that you will have those low moods. And then you may have a very sugary drink, so maybe like some Coca-Cola, and then suddenly your mood goes up again. But then it'll go back down again. So it's that kind of thing. It's making sure that you're having the right diet, but also what you're watching, what you're listening to, who you're around. And that's for all of us, actually, because if you're around negativity, that will have a negative effect on you as well.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe I see that a lot of people also experience some back pains in recent times. Is there something you have to say about that?
I think with back pain, it could be so many different things. Sometimes it's low vitamin D or magnesium. Other times it can be heavy metals. Yeah. They're the main ones that I'm seeing, or just deficiencies in the body. What I notice as well when I'm dealing with patients with back pain is that they'll be low in collagen, and we need collagen. So collagen usually is spoken about for sort of cosmetic reasons. It plumps up your skin, makes you look amazing, but it's so much more than that, because it lines your gut. And so if you can't line your gut with collagen, then what will happen is you'll get something called leaky gut. So you eat food, the food goes out of your gut too early, then goes into your bloodstream, and the body says, oh, what is this? Because this is foreign, and starts attacking, and then that can cause autoimmune disease like multiple sclerosis, etc. And that can be a big problem as well. Yeah. But I think with Mackenzie, you've sort of noticed things as well around you, that people have got low moods in general, that her age group.
Would you say something about that?
I think it's like a variety of different things. I think, firstly, I think social media probably plays a part, because
I think so too.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and even me, I notice it that if I'm on just scrolling for too long, like my mood is affected, and that's why I think my faith is very important, because I can spend some time in scripture, and it just gives you the peace that I need for the day as well. So it's not like a constant rush, and I think. As we said as well, like everything's so holistic, so the mind and body goes together. So I guess what you're feeding into your mind is going to affect how your body feels as well. But also I think the diet has a huge role to play with it as well. Like what foods we're eating, like it's not as encouraged to eat like healthier options and to go to the processed foods,
I think that's a really big thing, processed foods. So foods that are have come out of a tin, a packet. And I know it's convenient, especially as mothers, you want something convenient, but a lot of the time they don't have any nutritional value. And also we've got a lot of foods that are genetically modified. And so if it's genetically modified, you find that they're not giving you that nutritional value again. And so you've got, for instance, I do this, when I do a genetic test, there's some people that I think 45% of the population in this world, they can't tolerate folic acid, because folic acid is artificial, but they put it in a lot of our foods, so that you'll see it in your oats, your cornflakes, your Rice Krispies, a lot of the cereals, and when certain people eat it, it can lead to things like the mood swings. So I don't know what it's like in Ghana, whether there's a big thing with ADHD where it's like an attention deficit, where you the children just can't sit down. The moment you remove the cereal out of their diet and give them the natural form, which is methylfolate, they calm down. So, so there's so many things going on at the moment with our foods that is then having an effect on us, and it's causing problems.
Right, our time is up.
Okay.
So maybe there's somebody listening to us, and the person says, where do I start from? What do you have to say to them? Where do I start from?
Where do I start from? All right. So I would say if you're in a situation where you have been given a diagnosis and it could be serious, or it might be something that, just always know that there's ways that the body can heal. And, I love the scripture in Genesis 1:29, where it says that God has given us the seed and the trees and, for us to consume. Yeah. So there's so all his naturalness is around us. But obviously you go to someone who's certified, because there's a lot of people there, saying they're herbalists and things that are not certified, and they could be giving you something that could potentially hurt your body. And so make sure you go to someone who's certified, has been trained on this, but also see whether they can work alongside with your general practitioner, your doctor, because at the end of the day, the doctors will know exactly what is going on with their body in the sense of the diagnosis. But then if they're working, and that works really well in the UK, where I'm working with a doctor because I'm getting to the root cause, and then they're dealing with the other side of things that they've been trained to do, and they do very, very well. And so I just think, once again, hope is so important for everyone. Just know that there's always hope, whether it's whether you're having low energy, you're getting digestive or disorders, you're getting mood swings, you're feeling depressed, you've got pains in your body. There's always hope in what you can do, and you'd be amazed how quickly things can change around. Yeah,
right. And so when it comes to choosing to go to the hospital and taking the natural routes like you advocate for, which one do you advise?
I think I am. I've come from that field with medicine, so I'm not against medicines at all, because they save lives.
Right.
And I think what I find where medicines really work well is when it's in a sort of a situation where they need it as an emergency. Where I find it doesn't work so well is when patients are put on long term and they're just left there. That's when the side effects come on. So definitely, if you're in that situation, you need to go to hospital. Please go to hospital. It's so important.
Right.
We want you to get well. But I'm saying that in the meantime, if you can't get to hospital for whatever reason, make sure you're taking care of your body, because there's so many things that we've spoken about. The sun, drinking lots of water as well, really important. We don't drink enough water as a community. We need to drink more, and so that you're cleansing yourself all the time. And try and do a parasite cleanse, at least twice a year. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let me take your final words, and then we can go. Would you want to share your social media handles?
Sure.
So that people can get in touch with you. Yeah, so your final words and then your social media. Mackenzie.
Okay, so my final words would be just to take it step by step, because I feel like there's so much information that has been shared today. Yeah. I think even just simple things like my mom said, just like increasing your water and not thinking about removing everything that you're doing. Like, say if it's junk food that you like, just think about adding more vegetables. And I think just by making positive changes, you'll notice you'll have less of the things that are bad. And I think that's what's helped me. I don't just completely eliminate everything.
She's got sweet tooth, so she does like but which is, it's fine, but she knows that she's got to also make sure that she's cleansing as well.
Right. Okay, so social media handles.
My social media, Instagram is Mackenzie, so I'll spell it out, MACKNZIEX_2005. Yes.
Okay.
And my Instagram is Alexandra Consultancy without a Y. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, and then also I've got my Facebook, which is Alex Ohene Munn.
Okay, yeah. Alex Ohene Munn. All right. So thank you very much, Alexandra.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yes,
really enjoyed it.
To you too. Right. So we hope that we have other conversations in the future. Who knows? Maybe you come back again and then we speak some more. But thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you.
Okay. Happy Easter as well.
Happy Easter to you. Yes.
Right. Okay. So thank you very much. So that was Alexandra Opoku-Aman and also Mackenzie Sayan. Ifua Man, right? I got it. Yeah, and they were talking to us about body and wellness, really, and they've shared a lot of things. But the bottom line is that when it demands that you go to the hospital, do well to go to the hospital. But you can as well take care of your body. You can eat well, you can drink well, and you can keep your body in check properly so that you don't fall sick quite often, because they have never been to the hospital for so long, except to probably deliver a child. But apart from that, they've not been to the hospital, and that is possible to do. You and I, we can do that too. So please take care of your health. In this particular period, one of the things they said is that you should rest. So in these holidays, you have Friday, you have Monday, make sure that you get enough rest, and then you recharge for the rest of the weeks and the rest of the year. But thank you very much for listening. We're going to go into a different conversation